So this is going to be a quick tutorial that is going to show you how to begin again when you are a writer and you've been stuck for a while and you haven't had a routine, or you don't really want to do the routine that you have, or you feel like it's not working and you really want to just recreate a routine that works for you, but you also want to make sure that you're not keeping a lot of the routine that you have that's not working. So this is going to be a live demonstration here on the screen. So the first thing I recommend is to go and find a writing routine of people who have already achieved in writing, have been writing for quite some time, or you see that they're actually finishing work, or they're producing. At least they seem to just keep putting out work. So you want to look up those writers. There are some sites online like jamesclear.com/daily writing routines. You can go to and see some of the writing routines of other writers, or you can go on YouTube and pretty much record some of the writing routines of people on there. I don't share my whole writing routine because I believe that you should achieve in silence, but I will give a demonstration on how you can create your writing routine, and I will show a little bit of mine. So you could go to this site here. So what I have done is I have pulled up an example here. So this guy, Kurt Vonnegut, he says, I do push-ups and sit-ups all the time. Now, that's something I actually do, and I didn't even know this guy, and I don't know him, and I never saw this post before. But when I take breaks in between writing or before I get started, right after meditating, I will do push-ups, whether it's off my kitchen counter or off my chair or off something else. I find that you have to be relaxed. You have to try to get rid of the tension and the fear and the stress, or at least decrease it. So if you want to use push-ups to have like a release of the weight, the energy weight that you don't want when you're writing, that's good. Push-ups can do that. Or you can use Bill Collins' lesson in his poem, How to Write a Poem. He talks about cleaning. So you can just find something to clean, or I call it release. So you're just basically trying to feel like you had a little bit of a release that's not through writing. So you want to pre-release, okay? So I find that push-ups actually work. It releases tension. It powers you up. It gets you motivated. It makes you feel strong. And when you feel strong, you're kind of fearless. And you need to be a little fearless when you write, unless you're writing about being afraid. Now, if you're writing about being afraid or something that you're afraid of course you want to be in the mood of feeling fearful, being afraid. But if that's not what you're writing about, then you really should get strength so that you can be courageous. And push-ups are good to use. So I like his advice here. Here he has his exercise. Why did I call it exercise? I guess it feels like an exercise from all of this I'm seeing. But anyway, it's his routine. He was writing in 1965. He wrote a letter to his wife, Jane, about his daily writing habits. And it's in his book, which I will be looking up. Okay. So here he says, wake up at 5:30. He wakes up at 5:30, work until 8 a.m. Now, you have to consider your writing routine, your lifestyle, your energy, even your mental health. So he kind of dives right in, even if he's going through something mentally, he dives right in. I guess after he does his push-ups, you can do that. You can just jump in the cold pool water and take the freezing feeling. Or you can edit his routine here, this part here, and let's look at this here. We're going to move this over here. So you can actually get up an hour before you go to write. That way you can have some mental health time, meditation. So he says he gets up at 5:30. What if you got up at 5 a.m.? I find that in today's world, all the stress and all of that, you actually kind of need some time aside just for your mental health, just to do some mental clearing before you actually dive right into writing. I think that we deal with a lot of fog and brain fog more than they dealt with back in 1965. So, because we have technology, we have so much pollution, we have so much drama, we have so much bad news coming to us, we have the internet and toxic comments that we read, and people are very toxic. So I find that you need just some mind time before the writing. So you could say you wake up at 4 a.m. Let's do it like a list here. I wake up at 4 a.m. See how I edited his? His was 5:30. And then perhaps at 4:45. Or let's say 4:44. Since I often find the number 4, like when it comes to numbers, I find that like, oh, like you it's like sort of you had a release or you've overcome some sort of block. So perhaps at 4:44 or 4, let's say 4:52 or something like that. Okay. Don't be afraid to use numbers. Time is a gift, and we have the right to use numbers to help our life go easier. I was watching a video this week, and a guy had a video up where he was betting on Alaska. That's what he said, and he was talking about numbers. So don't be afraid to consider what the numbers represent or what the numbers make you feel. So if you often feel like you feel like you're ready to leap into something, and it's like always 4:22 on the clock, then that's the time you should probably stop doing something else and start something else. So let's say 4:22 or 4:44, and you're like, okay, 4:44 is the number I often see when I'm like, I'm ready to have a release from something. So you're allowed to use the numbers. Now, some people may not agree with this based upon their religion, or so if you don't, you can go with just how you feel. So if by 4:44 on the clock you feel like you're feeling like the weight is off your heart and the weight is off your mind, you're feeling empowered, okay, then you can go ahead and have your breakfast. So this is kind of like the in-between. Look at it like you're in the intersection of the highway or of a place where you drive. You're in the middle of the road. So the middle of the road, you're stopping, you're getting something to eat. You know, like when there's a gas station, you pull over, you go in and get something to eat. So you can look at it like that. So here you have eat breakfast. Notice he said at home. I guess he wants to make sure he don't have toxic things in his food and no sugar. He probably doesn't eat high sugar. So when you eat out, you run the risk of having things in your food that can actually create a creative block or take you out of that state of creative consciousness. So that's probably why he emphasized he eats at home. So you can have 30 grams of protein, some fruit in a salad, some tea, some OJ. That's pretty much what I have. I have 25 to 35 grams of protein on my little middle of the road first stop for food. And I have tea, I have some juice, I have a salad with a small salad. I have a small salad, and I will talk about that in another video. You don't want to get inflammation in your body when you're supposed to be creative. So you have to watch how many vegetables, leafy vegetables, acidic type vegetables that you eat in the morning hours. So I always eat a small amount, a very small amount, like a small little kid-sized salad before I get creative. You don't want the inflammation in your brain because it can cause brain fog. That's what it did to me for a while until I started cutting back eating those acidic, toxic type vegetables in the morning hours. I had to cut back on the amount. So here we have work. So he says work until 10. So you have to decide how fast you want to achieve your goal, how long you're willing to go at this. So if you're like, you know what, as long as it get done, I really don't care. As long as it's done, as long as my writing goal gets achieved, I don't care. So you can set a comfortable amount of time to do your writing. So 2 hours, okay, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. So let's just say, let's round it up to like 7:44. Okay, a.m. 5 to 6 is that's about like 2.5 hours almost. So then you would do something that would help you detach from the writing. So here's your writing. We're going to put that in caps. Okay. Ooh, I don't know what happened here. Let's go back. Okay. So we're going to do, this is like rest stop. All right. I don't know what's happening every time I click on it. We'll just leave it there and you could just look at it because we're actually done with that screen. So let's make this one bigger here. We're going to get more into this list. So this is rest stop, food for brain power. Okay. This was your mental health time. So here you could get counseling, therapy, meditate if you meditate. Now, I like to meditate about something that has nothing to do with writing. Or I meditate with seeing that I have done it. If I do meditate about my writing, I always meditate about the end, that I've actually done it. And I will also meditate visualizing me doing the hard part of the writing. That way, when I go to do it, I'm not scared to do it. So here your meditation can be, you're meditating structuring your writing. You know that you hate to do that. You're intimidated by structuring. So that is what you should be visualizing during when you first wake up. You want to try to get courage to do the hard part or the part that you're keep avoiding doing in your writing. You want to visualize that because that's the part that's going to mess up your writing routine. If you don't do it, it's going to make you give up. It's going to give you delays in your writing routine. So you need to meditate on the hard stuff, the stuff that you've been avoiding doing in your writing. For me, it's structure, like outlining. For you, it might be studying the techniques. For you, it might be the editing. You might be intimidated by editing. I love to edit. I'm never intimidated by editing. But I get intimidated by doing enough structuring and outlining and planning. That intimidates me. So I have to meditate on that. Visualize myself doing it. Getting the outlining and the planning done. Like some of the outlining. Because I am a pantser, I like to outline and just put it on a page. Okay, you can say a idealist in writing, like just dumping the ideas on the page. But I also like the structure, so that makes me a pantser. So you should actually know what you are. You might be a panter or a pantster. So you might want to know that. If you try to stray from what you are naturally, this part of it, the actual writing part, will just stay in limbo. You won't do it. You'll keep saying you're going to do it, but you'll just keep procrastinating. So here you have, let's get back to here. This is the second part, okay? All right, so 444, remember, we're writing the time. So this is just an example. So this is the first step. Now, you don't want to rush doing this. You want to actually enjoy planning your writing routine. because you may need to edit it and revise it later on. And if you didn't enjoy doing it in the first place, then you'll procrastinate doing it again if you have to replan. So realize that the planning part of your writing routine and day is just as important as doing the writing. Very important, because then the writing don't happen, or it's slow to happen because you did not take this part seriously and you underappreciate it, or you didn't enjoy it. So learn to take your time with planning your writing routine and your day. Learn to take your time with that, because this makes or breaks the whole deal, whether you're going to write and keep writing, or whether you're going to even keep doing it ever again. So make sure that you like this process. You take your time. If you take your time in doing it and see how important it is, and remember that this is so important, you'll come up with a really good routine. So I look at this as the rest, stop, food, brain power time. So let's say, we'll even change that time. Maybe you say, I don't really like 4:44 time on the clock. Perhaps it is, perhaps 4:54, okay? But you want to make sure that you give enough time where you feel a little bit pressure during your writing. So I find that writing for 2 hours is actually pressure on me. You want a little bit of pressure. Just think about when you're working at a job, you know, your boss put pressure on you. It builds some strength and character. It makes you feel like, you could do it if somebody cracked a whip on you. So because, hey, at some point when you get deep into writing and writing life, it do feel like the whip is being cracked on you. So you might as well just get used to it. You will start to feel like you're being whipped once you make writing abundant and important in your life. You'll realize that you're in a very competitive field, so you do have to crack the whip. You do have to whip yourself sometime to, you know, go longer, to feel some pressure on you. So writing for 2 hours, I find that works for me. Might be different. You don't want to write so long where you get PTSD or anxiety. You just feel like, oh, this is slavery. You want to stop writing before you feel that way. So you do have to experiment with your writing batch times to see, when do you start to feel that way? Okay? If you start to feel PTSD, anxiety, you're panting, you're like, this is overwhelming, you have been writing too long. You should have stopped already. And when I hear Hemingway say your well go dry, that also means you want to stop writing before your well go dry, in a sense of the well being before you start to see it as slavery and you start to feel like you're beating the ideas out of you. You don't want to feel that way. You want to stop right when you feel like, okay, I've been, a lot's been coming. The glass is half full. So you stop then and you wait till the glass, you know, you return when you feel like your glass is getting fuller again, a little full, which means you're motivated, inspired, or, you know, I don't like the word inspired because it makes you feel like you're not in control of finding ideas. You actually are, you know, finding content, things that fascinate you. Also, how you interpret, like, creating, writing means a lot. We're going to talk about that in a video, the psychological part. I was getting into the psychological part just now, but we have another video coming to the channel. It's going to be talking to you about the psychological part. And I have an article that's going to dive deep. But the first thing you have to do is no longer think that you're waiting to get inspired. There is no inspiration. Even though I know you think that, and a lot of the young writers think that, there's only what you love, okay? Or what you're interested or fascinate you, what you're curious about. So if you are about to dive into your writing time and you're like, what do I put on the blank page? Think about what you're curious about, what you're afraid of, what is haunting you, what you think will free you from any type of feeling you don't want or situation, or make you feel like you're free from it. You could dive right into that. Okay, what do you miss? What do you long for? You have to ask yourself a series of questions. You can pre-make a sheet. You can make a sheet before you're doing this, before you plan your writing life and your writing schedule and your day. You can write a sheet that has a bunch of questions, okay? And we're going to talk about that in another video. I'm giving you a little teaser of the upcoming videos that's coming to this channel. Remember, this is a channel dedicated to all things literary. So make sure that you hit the like buttons and subscribe and hit the notification button. This channel is going to save you thousands of dollars in college fees. Okay? So let's say here's the writing 2 hours. We're going to get back to this. So he has here Kurt Vonnegut. He has here walk a few blocks. Now here I'm editing his routine. Remember, this is the part of his routine I edited to work for me. So he says walk a few blocks. For me, I say walk 2 to 3 miles. If you are trying to lose weight and you don't like working out, okay, you're going to walk a few blocks like Kurt Vonnegut. But because I prefer to eat within a calorie range that doesn't make me gain weight, I find that walking 2 to 3 miles is enough. I like to go with the amount of calories burned. So for me, it's like 200 calories burned. I'm cool. That's the max. That's the maximum for me. Okay. So usually within 3 miles, you're very close to burning 200 calories. Very close. So I like to do more than one location, not just a block. So I'll hop in my car because I like the cool, refreshing air. I can see the scenery, things changing as they move by when I look out the window of my car as I'm driving. So I love that, okay? I find that when you're in motion, when you're driving, it triggers your creative flow, your creative consciousness. You get into a creative dream. Even while you're driving, you see things that you normally wouldn't see. And you don't see the same stuff because you're not walking the same block. You're driving somewhere different. So I will go to more than one location. So, and then I will try to make sure I'm paying attention to what I'm seeing because I never know what I can use for my writing project. So sometimes I will actually stop and take pictures. Okay, if you have a cell phone, you 9 times out of 10, you have a working camera. So take plenty of pictures on your walk. Don't rely just on memory alone. I'm going to tell you, no lie. Some of the things that you see that you might want to use in your writing, right when you think you'll remember it, as soon as you go down to write it down, you don't remember it. So take pictures and record on your phone. Get your recording app. This walk is not just a peaceful walk. This walk is also research. A writer always writes, even when there's no actual writing time where they're sitting down writing. A writer is writing even just by researching, okay? They're always thinking of, what can I use for my writing? What can I use for my writing? So you can never really walk the same path twice or go to the same path twice. It will never be exactly the same. And remember, no one has lived your life, like poet Robert Haas say. So make sure that you take pictures every time and record what you see every time. So he says doing errands. Now, this is where I think he's like getting into the release, like getting things done. So you could do a couple errands. You could bring in the newspaper, cut out a couple clippings from the newspaper, cut out some coupons, or whatever. Hey, you could use that process even for your writing that you may be doing. So I wouldn't do a lot of errands because it may feel like you've done work already. So when you go to write, you'll be like, your body will think it done work. Your mind will say you worked already when you did a lot of errands. So I don't want to write. You don't want to do that. So keep the errands amount small. Okay. You might go grab a little bit of milk, bring in the milk, do a little things around the kitchen. Doing a couple things around the kitchen really helps you to get started. I find that kitchen work, it helps. That's why there's a lot of great writers who were homemakers. A lot of great writers were women who stayed at home and was good homemakers, or men who was at home a lot and lived off the land. They're normally really great artists. So, yeah, do a couple things in your kitchen and do a couple things in your office space. All right. I often find a clean table, a clean, spacious table makes your brain feel like it's ready to create. So do that, all right? So he says swimming pool. Okay? Now I know you're thinking, but this is coming after the writing. Remember that what you do between your writing sessions matter. So you don't want to block your next cycle of writing. So this is what he's doing here during his in the in-between, before his next cycle of his next writing moment of writing. But for me, I prefer to do this here. This is when I prefer to do mine, right here. So I will eat, then walk and take pictures and do research, and then I will write. Okay? But I will also do my planning. So I will walk, research, take pictures, then I will plan, structure, do some planning for my work, like outlining, okay? And then I will write. Notice he does it after. He walks again. He walks only after his writing. Now, there's no limit to amount you can walk, all right? Greg Goggins will tell you that. He's a walking, running something. He's running, walking. So I call him the run walker because it always looks like he's run walking. Greg Goggins. I think he kind of figured out how to be walking, but actually running at the same time, which makes him be able to cover more miles. All right, so you got to walk here. So notice on my list is twice. See, on my edited, I'm walking before writing and I'm walking after writing. Well, some people, they like to take their shower after writing. So let's say that after I get my 2 hours writing in, I shower, refresh. You know, I might have a snack. And then I go for a walk. I like to use food as fuel. So I don't like to eat and sit down and write. I prefer to trigger my body into the process of using food for fuel. And I find that walking after I eat helps me. As a poet, it's really nice to walk before you write your poetry. So for me, I gotta walk. I have to walk before I write. Okay, then I'll shower, I'll snack, and then I may walk again. Now, here's the only problem I see with his schedule. I don't see any reading. Okay, so here you can snack and read and just edit. And why do I say like no writing first? Because no writing again first. So after these 2 hours, you're going to shower, snack, read, and edit. I'm just saying this is an example. All right, I would do the read and edit here because it would allow me to edit some work from yesterday and not feel like I'm actually writing, even though I still am. Technically, I'm not. I don't feel the pressure of writing something new, but I'm still locked into writing. So I'm editing work from yesterday. All right, and then I would walk again. And here I'm doing it again, taking pictures, researching, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, at this time, we're getting up during the day because it's 2 hours, 3 hours, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's getting close to like lunchtime. Now, that is when you can get a workout in between like 12 and 2:30. You can have your lunch. You can work out after your walk and then have your lunch and then work out again. And then by 2:30, you could jump back in to some writing or some lessons. So here he has lunch, he eats lunch, his schedule here. So here, let's edit all the way up to here. Okay. So lunch. This is after a workout, physical workout. And then we have lunch. So after lunch, this is when you can take some studies. I recommend always going back to the elementary studies first. So the things you learned first about writing, your beginning classes. This way you don't lose that information as you're adding new information in, new lessons in. So maybe you can take some beginner's course and just do some random sketching. So you might want to fill up your sketchbook. You might want to journal about your morning. What did you do that morning up to lunch? You might want to pretend like you're writing a letter to a friend or a postcard. You know, you got to do a postcard or write a letter to somebody about yesterday. You might want to sit down and do that. This is not the actual project you're working on, actual writing project. This is so that you can actually still kind of keep your pen moving because it's still early in the day. It's lunchtime. It's not like it's in the mid evening time. So you want to give yourself a time range. So it's like up to 3 p.m. Okay, up to 3 p.m. is going to be your, let's say that, end of writing time, writing schedule, writing and learning. Let's edit it again. End of it. Okay. So this is the end of the writing and learning schedule here. So we're up here. This is about 12:45 that you're doing this. So here you're going to be doing this, maybe a 1 hour where you're just, you know, doing some random sketching, filling up your stuff with ideas. You're just filling up with random stuff, your journal up with random stuff. Could be clip outs, pictures, stuff. You're just shoving it. You can even get a box and just start shoving all type of content in the box, okay? It could be pictures, old postcards, stuff you cut out, public domain content, whatever. You know, you can't let your well go dry even if the well's outside of you. So make sure you're just filling that up. Look at it like you're gathering, like you're a chipmunk and you're just like storing it away for the winter. You know, that time when you feel like you don't have any ideas coming to you, you can just go to that stuff and see what you got. So you're like in chipmunk mode here. Okay. All the way, I would say, I would go all the way to like 1:30 p.m. That's what I would do. Okay, that's what I would do. I'm not going to do the whole example, so you could just edit it. Notice he says he goes to these places, he cooks. So that's like him up in like 3 p.m., him up into his schedule. So if you're like me, then you can actually do your studies in the middle of your day. So studies, like 12 after lunch. So you would have lunch. Lunch would be at like 12 p.m. Then you would do your studies, and then you would be like in chipmunk mode where you're just like gathering content. Just piling as much comment as you can. Look at it like a race, like you're like, you know, you got like this shopping cart and you won this prize where you can just gather as much groceries for free out of Walmart. So that's what you're doing, okay? That's what you're doing, except it's content that you can possibly use for future writing projects. Now, remember, if it's copyrighted content, always make sure you get the author and creator name so that you can give credit. Otherwise, you won't remember who created the content, and then you won't be able to use it. So just make sure whatever content that you're gathering. Okay, now we're going to get deeper into this where we get into the middle of the day and the evening hours. And I'll edit this some more, but the advanced lesson for this will be on my OnlyFans, okay? Or it will be available to members only on this channel. So if you want our members only literary videos, literary related videos, you need to become a member of this channel. I will turn the member option on very soon. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to let me know. Thanks for watching. Remember, this was part 1. There's a part 2 and part 3. and variations of this I'm going to show and talk about, and other stuff I mentioned, extended videos on this topic, but they will be for members only and people on my OnlyFans. If you want to join my OnlyFans, you have to join my OnlyFans at onlyfans.com/Victoria's Nest. Thanks for watching. Bye.